If you've been following along on the series of the history of DevSecOps, you may have noticed that we haven't mentioned it yet. That's because we need to understand the origin of where it comes from. We need to understand how processes have changed based on changes in the environment, not just because people want to do change. Change happens because of necessity, and that's what's happened with DevSecOps. As we take a deeper look into the software development lifecycle known as Waterfall, we see that there's built-in feedback loops in between these phases. But these feedback loops were really not as important as the feedback loop coming back from the customer. It's the customer feedback loop that really is the only feedback loop that matters. The challenge that we have here, as software requirements became more and more complicated, this feedback loop took longer and longer to go from the requirements phase to the verification phase. The other challenge that we were facing is the pace of change began to outpace the ability of organizations to deliver. Something had to change, and that change was the introduction of the Agile Manifesto that says that we should deliver working software incrementally, and the validation of the software, the feedback loops, are not feedback loops in between phases of the Waterfall SDLC, but rapid delivery of working software to the customer. What emerged was the DevOps model, and the DevOps model has development and operations collaborating much more closely. The development process of plan, code, build, and test, then release the software and hand it over to ops for deployment, operations, and monitoring maintenance, happens frequently in the Agile model. What DevOps intended to do was to increase the collaboration between the development teams and the operations teams in order to make it as seamless and painless as possible to do the transition from development work to putting code into production. But there are still some challenges associated with this, and these are challenges that Rick Dreyfuss and I will discuss in the next episode of the history of DevSecOps.